Yo guys, it's Slyroh. You already know that today I'm bringing you guys a top 10 list. Today we're going to be talking about my top 10 favorite Pokemon that I've gotten to use in Pokemon Draft League format. Now with Pokemon Sun and Moon just about to come out, it is sure to change the competitive metagame, and just before it does, I wanted to take one last look at some of my favorite mons that I have been able to use in Pokemon Draft League format for the era of Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. So in the past year and a half, Draft League format, I've gotten really into, and it has really grown, in general. So I just wanted to, give you guys some of my favorite Pokemon that I've gotten to use, to relive or as one last time before we jump into, Sun and Moon and create some new favorites. So as you can probably tell by this intro, this is going to be more of a casual top 10. This isn't scripted or anything like that. The GFX aren't going to be, super fancy or anything like that. I just really wanted to make this video and just get it out really quick, so it isn't anything too crazy. So if you want to hear about some of my favorite Pokemon in Draft League format, and tell me about some of your favorite Pokemon that you've been able to use in Draft League format, or watch other people use, feel free to let me know, and we're just going to have a casual top 10 list. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about my 10 favorite Pokemon that I've gotten to use in Draft League format. The things that will be up on the screen that I was able to get is going to be the Pokemon, of course, how many kills and deaths that it has gotten while playing for me, and in what season of whatever league, what league or what season of that league that I used said Pokemon. So that is what all the numbers are there down there. I might even label them. Who knows? We'll see. I haven't edited it yet, so we'll see. But let's go ahead and jump into this list. So number 10 should be pretty familiar to you guys if you guys have been watching PBL Season 4, a Pokemon that I have really come to appreciate, and I feel like I could have done even better with, and so even without using it super well, it did, I still really like it, and that's Tyranitar. So Tyranitar has really helped me in the situations that it was able to this season. Unfortunately, I kind of brought it scarfed a lot, and I didn't really get to play around with everything that it can do, which is a shame because Tyranitar can do so many things. But that is from the season that just ended. PBL Season 4 just ended. Well, my season did. There's still some other people playing some games at this point. But it got 7 kills for me, and 6 deaths. And I'm pretty sure I only brought it to like half the games, maybe 7 games tops. So there was a stretch there that I didn't bring it for a while. But no matter what, Tyranitar is really good. Very bulky in the sand. Its special defense is great. Being able to have that massive attack with Stone Edge and Crunch is really good, and it has really good coverage moves as well. Unfortunately, like I said, I wasn't able to bring it as many different ways as I would have loved to, but Tyranitar still found a place on this list, and found a place in my heart because I really enjoyed using it. Moving on to number 9, we're going to talk about Pokemon that I'm so glad I picked up. I didn't actually initially draft it. I picked it up in a transfer, I want to say the first transfer window that I could. Maybe the second one, but in Pokemon Premier League Season 3, I picked up Tornadus T, and I'm so glad I did that because it became one of my favorite Pokemon to use. It got 6 kills for me, 4 of them were in one game, did die 3 times because it was used more as a pivot and more as support, more of a damage sponge, more so than needing to be the biggest threat. Tornadus T is a huge threat. But for me, I didn't necessarily always need it to attack. I just needed it to knock off items, U-turn around, not die with its regenerator ability, and it was really useful for me, and is a Pokemon that I would love to use again because it's just so great. I mean, I'm sure you've heard so many people talk about Tornadus T. I don't know that anyone has used it and not enjoyed it. It's a very good Pokemon. So, I mean, there's really not much all to say to that, and, yeah, I really enjoyed using it, in PBL Season 3. That was a season that it did pretty well with, especially at the end, and Tornadus T was a big part of that, so I'm really happy that I got to use it. So, moving on to number 8, is another Pokemon that I didn't draft. I actually traded for the first transfer period, I believe, that I was able to. And it was a trade that was approached to me. I didn't even actively go after this Pokemon. It found its way onto my team, and I'm so glad it did. Number 8 is Mega Blastoise. which is, I'm going to say now, is actually my favorite Mega that I have used in Draft League format. Mostly because I tend to go with some weird Megas, not counting Mega Pinsir. That was Season 1. That doesn't count. Everybody was bad then, including me. I was super bad. But Mega Blastoise I got in PPL Season 2, and I used it for a few weeks, and it put in so much work. I don't think I would have been able to win some of the games that I did if I didn't have Mega Blastoise on my team. It's so bulky, and even when it's brought defensively, which I'm pretty sure I did basically every time, the offensive output that this thing has is so good, and the coverage is so good that people just cannot stop it, and I absolutely love that. I absolutely love it, and unfortunately, I was going to have Mega Blastoise a lot higher, but when I was looking back for the stats, I realized that at some point in the season I actually dropped it, and I don't remember dropping it, but I did. So I didn't start with it, and I didn't finish with it, so that's why I couldn't be any higher. But I've also used Mega Blastoise. I believe I used it in the March Madness tournament earlier this year, and I'm not sure if there's any other place that I used it, but it's very good all the time, and people have definitely come to respect it a lot more for good reason. Also, because it didn't start on my team, the 7 and 3, I don't actually remember how many of those were from me and how many were from before it came to my team. So that is one of, there's another Pokemon that's like that where the stats might not be 100% accurate because, you know, that's the stats for the season, just might not have all been while playing for the Pittsburgh Power. But Mega Blastoise is great. There's not much more I need to say about it. And yeah, so let's go ahead on to another Pokemon. So moving on to number 7, we're going to be talking about another water type, and the nope, that's a lie. I was about to say the only Pokemon from TBU Season 3, but it's actually not, technically. But the first one we're going to talk about is Manaphy. Manaphy is number 7. Now, Manaphy, a lot of people love for good reasons. It's one of the best spawns in Draft League format. It's one of the hardest things to prepare for, and if you let it set up, it can sweep through whole teams. It's also very bulky, base 100s across the board, so it's not the easiest to take out, and it was really great to be able to use that to my advantage. I never had to play in against the Manaphy. I got to use it, and Manaphy was paired with probably the bulkiest team that I've ever drafted. So it was that much harder to take it out because you had to worry about taking that out as well as other threats that were on my team. So it was great. It was basically the first pick that I had in TBU Season 3. That was the only full season of TBU that I played in. So yeah, I mean, Manaphy is great. There's really not much more I can say about that. I think out of all the Mons on this list, Manaphy has the least amount of deaths for a Pokemon that has played for a full season on the Pittsburgh Pyroar. So that's a fun little fact. Probably has the best differential. It's tied. No, that's a lie. But for one season, I think it's one of the best. So yeah, Manaphy is great. Anyone who's used Manaphy has enjoyed it for the most part, and there's good reason, because it's good. It's not my favorite. Sorry, I know there's some people that is their favorite, but you know, didn't quite do it for me. But it is the highest water type that is on this list, so it is my favorite water type in League format that I've gotten to use. So there's that. Moving on to number 6, we're going to talk about another Pokemon that is base 100s all across the board, and another Pokemon from the most recent season that I've played in Draft League format, from PBL Season 4, the MVP of my team, Victini. Victini finished the season with 12 kills and 7 deaths, which is great. I brought it to 9 games, because there was 2 games I did not bring it to, and Victini is a threat every single time. I love my fire types in League format. Everybody who knows me knows that, and I took a chance with Victini to see how well I'd be able to do with it, and despite the fact that I didn't play the best this season, Victini was still able to get a lot of revenge kills, was still able to just punch holes, also getting a couple crits to help its kills. So that happened, but regardless, Victini was really fun to build with every single week. It was you know, I mean, you always look at how much choice banded V-Create does to like every mon, and it's great. Just doing calcs with Victini is fantastic, and just being able to bring physical, special, it was all really great. In the most recent match, when I got to bring sub Victini and let Shadi see a Victini behind a sub that he had to break and had to take an attack from, it was great. Just everything about Victini is fantastic, and I would definitely use it again. It has definitely become one of my favorite mons in League format, and I mean, Victini is great, and if anybody ever tells you otherwise, they're wrong. But unfortunately for Victini, it is not the highest fire or psychic type on this list, so let's talk about what psychic type is right now. So moving on to number 5 is going to be Gardevoir. Gardevoir from PBL Season 2 was a mon that I actually picked really early. I remember that draft. Everybody was drafting fairies very, very early, and I believe I took Gardevoir in the second round, a lot higher than people would usually take Gardevoir, and I did not regret a single minute of it. Gardevoir did have 7 kills and 7 deaths, which may not look very flashy, but Gardevoir was really big at supporting the rest of my team. I remember bringing Wish Gardevoir a couple times. I remember it didn't fulfill its role one game because of a crit that really mattered, and so there was definitely some more potential to it, but people really underestimate Gardevoir. Gardevoir really just excels at people planning for it less than they do other mons on your team, and that's kind of a theme that I tend to enjoy. I do really well with mons that people don't plan as much for, but are still really good. Like, Gardevoir is so good, and I think has gotten a little bit more respect now, you know, because it can do so many things. It can be scarfed. I want to say that I brought a Specs one, but I might not have, even though that's still really powerful. Again, I did bring it as defensive a lot, because it was very good defensive, and good wish support, heal bell. I mean, it had so many things that it was helping the rest of my team. PBL Season 2 was one of my favorite teams that I had, and it had a good balance of offense and defense, so Gardevoir was never really stuck into either one of those roles. And I absolutely loved it, and Gardevoir is actually the only fairy on this list. That is partially due to the fact that I've never really drafted a great fairy. I got to use Togekiss in PBL Season 4, which got kind of close to making it onto this list, but not quite, and every other fairy I've used has been more like low tier and kind of out there from what I remember. So I've never really gotten to use like top tier fairy, so that's another reason why. But Gardevoir is fantastic, and yeah, so there's that. Moving on to number 4, another Pokemon from PBL Season 2. I really did love this team. I think there's more mons on this list from Season 2 than from any other season. Yeah, basically. So, this mon that we're going to be talking about is Conkeldurr. Oh, Conkeldurr, my favorite fighting type in League format that I've gotten to use. It is so good. It is. I've always been a big fan of Conkeldurr just by using it in standard play. But then when I got to draft it, I really just saw the power that Conkeldurr has. Because it hits really hard. Guts to really prevent people from trying to status your team, which is really good. Or if, you know, Conkeldurr gets status, then that's also really good for you. Or we have, of course, my choice banded Iron Fist Conkeldurr. You can ask Shadi about that one. Yeah, so Conkeldurr is fantastic, and I actually brought it defensive a couple times, and it was still really good, because again, it packs that much power even if you don't invest in offense as much, and it's really good defensively for certain things that were just really annoying to my team, that I built for, and yeah, so I mean, there's really, I could keep going on and on about Conkeldurr. It also got Sheer Force. I don't think I ever got to bring Sheer Force on it, and unfortunately, I did actually trade away Conkeldurr at the very end of the season, and so there is that, but still, I mean, Conkeldurr was fantastic mon. But yeah, so we are going to move into the top 3 of the favorite mons that I have been able to use, And, yeah, so number 3 is Roserade. I fell in love with Roserade so much. Easily my favorite grass type to use in the league format. It got 12 kills and 7 deaths in Season 3 of the Pokemon Premier League, and I absolutely loved calcing with this. I believe it was the only Pokemon to come to every single game, which might have been the only time that I did that in any League of Draft League format. I could be wrong about that one, but I know that Roserade came to every single game, because there's always a role that it can fill. With its Technician Hidden Power, it can always do something. Sleep Powder, I brought a defensive one week, I brought a physically defensive one, I brought a specially defensive one, I brought Assault Vest, I brought Scarfed. There was just so many things that Roserade can do, and I absolutely love it so much. Anytime that I get to use Roserade, I would absolutely love to do it. And again, Roserade is just one of the hardest Pokemon to prep for, in my opinion, just because of the Technician Hidden Power. It does have a really hard hitting move, coverage move for anything that you can possibly bring against it. And that really works to your advantage in Draft League format when you can see your opponent's team, and you know, there's limited things that your hidden power could be, and it's really scary to plan for. So I loved being able to have it and to just scare other people with what I could possibly have. It was great. I tried so many different things with Roserade. It can fill so many different roles. Absolutely love it, and that's my favorite Pokemon from. Well, nope, just kidding. Almost my favorite Pokemon from PBL Season 3, and it is still one of my favorite Pokemon ever. But now, we're going to move into the big boys, because these two Mons are Pokemon that I used more than once. These are the only two on the list that I used more than once. So, in my second favorite Pokemon that I've used in Draft League format is Kyurem. Kyurem, if people remember, in Season 1 was an absolute monster. Absolute monster. That was the season, you know, I had Mega Pinscher on my team, but guess who got more kills? Kyurem. I believe Kyurem got 12 kills that series. No. Kyurem got 13 kills that season. And then I traded for it mid-season in PBL Season 2, and I got like 2 more kills with it. Those might not even be mine. I might have only gotten like 1 kill with it. I know I didn't use it as much in Season 2, but Season 1 it was fantastic. And Kyurem has definitely been my favorite dragon that I've gotten to use in Draft League format. Again, that's also a result of not being able to use too many other high-tier dragon types, but the thing with Kyurem is kind of the same as some of the other Pokemon on this list, is that people don't see it as much of a threat for some reason that I don't really understand. People think that Kyurem is bad, when it's not at all. It's so good. It hits so hard on both the physical and the special side, so it's just, it's a monster, and people don't prep as much for it. Which is the crazy thing that I want to understand, and it's actually the reason that I like Kyurem more than Kyurem Black, because Kyurem Black people will prep their entire team for because it's clearly a huge threat, but they see a regular Kyurem, and for some reason it's just not a threat anymore, and that's where you make your mistake, because like I said, Kyurem's really good, has, obviously it's good stab moves, like I said, it can hit physical and special. I believe I brought Kyurem a lot of ways. Defensive Kyurem was really nice multiple times. I also was able to bring a Banded Kyurem, a Specs Kyurem. I brought a Dual Screens Kyurem. I remember that one. That was great. It didn't work, but it was great. But it didn't work for other reasons. Not because it wasn't a great idea. Because, you know, my ideas are great and all that good stuff. But, no, Kyurem is great. Overall, it has 15 kills, 11 deaths for me, which is great. 1 or 2 of them might be from Season 2 when it wasn't on my team, so that might not be entirely accurate. But same with the kills. It might be like a 1 or 2 kill difference. So, but either way, Kyurem is fantastic. It will... I won't say forever, but for now, it definitely holds the place as being my favorite dragon in League format. You know, I adore this thing so much. It's been a while since I've used it. Maybe I should draft it again. Don't want to give away my plans, though. Not that I have any. So, anyway, before we move on to number 1, which a lot of people who know me probably already know what it is, I do want to give some honorable mentions to some other Pokemon that I've gotten to use. So I just wanted to throw some honorable mentions. Gliscor, which is where I started my Draft League format experience at. Gliscor was the #1 overall pick that I picked. Not #1 overall, #1 for my team. It was like the 6th overall pick, and I didn't regret it. Gliscor was fantastic, really versatile, good defensive, and people didn't run Hidden Power Ice as much on the right mons as they do now, so it worked really, really well. That was in PBL Season 1. Also, from Pokemon, from PBL Season 1, Shaman. Shaman definitely had to have an honorable mention just because it was, again, very versatile. I used it physically offensive, specially offensive, physically defensive, maybe even specially defensive. I don't remember, but it was really good for my team. And I was really happy to have it, and I would love to use Shaman again. I think in Season 1 I was able to draft Shaman like round 4 or 5, which just doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't last long enough for me to try and snag it up again, but it's a fantastic mon. Also from Season 1, Mega Metacham. The mon that I dropped Mega Pinsir for, doing Mega Metacham calcs, is fantastic. It is glorious, and it always puts in so much work. It just hits so hard, but it wasn't on my team very long, and I haven't gotten another chance to use it since, so I couldn't put it on the list. Also, some other mons that didn't make it onto the list. Lantern, it did good one season, not good the season after. I did use it 2 seasons, and it only worked for one of them. Tangela, I love Tangela. It's so bulky, and people forget that it has base 100 special attack, and has things like a Leaf Storm to go with annoying things like Sleep Powder and Leech Seed and all that good stuff. So Tangela had to be on there. Hitmontop might, it's probably my second favorite Rapid Spinner, of course, after Mega Blastoise. Hitmontop always just like with the Intimidate, was always able to come in on the right things. Everything that set up Stealth Rocks couldn't hit Hitmontop, so Hitmontop could always come in. It was fantastic. Just a couple other ones. Porygon 2. Porygon 2 was fat, I mean, and it was on the fattest team that I've ever drafted, and that's basically it. Also, Reuniclus, I picked it up this season of the PBL Season 4, and brought it to basically every single game after that I picked it up, and it got like 8 kills for me. It actually did really, really well. So, but I couldn't quite get it on this list. It basically came down to Reuniclus or Tyranitar, as to which I wanted to be number 10. So Reuniclus would probably be like number 11, to be honest. Also, final shout out to honorable mention is Scyther. Scyther I never actually got to use in a full season, which is why it didn't make its way onto the list. I was able to use it in the March Madness tournament, which was in like April, despite the name. And I mean, I did get to use it for like 5 or 6 games, and it fills a unique role that no other mon really could. Because like I could bring it defensive and max speed, like with Eviolite, and just the right moves. It was a really good typing, and just really good for all the matches that I needed it for. So shout out to Scyther. I would love to use Scyther for a full season one day. But that is enough honorable mentions. I actually spent longer talking about them than I wanted to. But number 1, if you know me, you know what this Pokemon is going to be. My favorite Pokemon to use in Draft League format is Arcanine. Arcanine, I have drafted 3 times in Pokemon Premier League Season 1 and in Season 3, as well as in Season 3 of the TBU. I used it 3 times, and it was great every single time. Arcanine's career kill to death ratio for the physical Power Roar is 29 kills and 20 deaths. It had 12 or 13 kills in Season 3 of the PPL. I think it had like 6 in Season 1. Actually, it might have only had like 4 or 5 in Season 1, and then TBU it had like another like 12 or 11 or something like that. So, Arcanine's so good. I love it. I love it. I love it. Favorite fire type. Not even favorite. I think it's the best fire type in League format. To be honest, the defensive is so good, especially defensive, physically defensive. And then even when it's defensive, it's Flare Blitz, still hits really hard, and then you can hit yourself back up with Morning Sun, Status with Will-O-Wisp, things like that. It's so good, and it does have coverage, Wild Charge for water types, Crunch, for when that's needed. Close Combat was another one that was needed a lot. So, yeah, like, it has so good moves, yeah, and Extreme Speed, of course, and, yeah, I love it so much. Arcanine will probably forever be my favorite Pokemon of all time, and definitely my favorite Pokemon used in draft format. And yeah, that is that. I probably spent actually more time on this video than I wanted to, but I love reliving the memories of using these Pokemon. These have been my 10 favorite Pokemon that I've gotten to use. Of course, if you didn't see a mono on this list, maybe I haven't used it. There's definitely some really good mons that I haven't gotten to use, and yeah, let me know what some of your favorite Pokemon are in Draft League format. Again, that you've either used or seen other people use. Just let me know, and we'll go from there. This is going to be kind of the last time that I really get to talk about League format in the current format, because Sun and Moon comes out very, very soon, and then after that, everything's going to be so different. So I can't wait to make some new favorites in League format, and that's basically about it. So I'm going to stop rambling and going to let you guys go on with your day, and that's going to be it. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know. Go ahead, hit the like button, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys for the next video of whatever type I decide to do. So until then, guys, stay sly.